Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being on board. It's 2:30 right now. So we are not going to start like right away, but did want to just say, hey, it's good to see everybody. So many faces here. Hey, Kathy, colleague, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. I don't know if you want to say a few words before we get started.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here. It's good to see all of you. And colleague, we can get started whenever you are ready.
I'm just waiting for someone to send me I'm following orders, so.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Meanwhile, good to see so many faces, so many dope backgrounds.
Yes, love the backgrounds.
I apologize that my background is not working, but I just want to welcome everyone to our Illuminate the Arts press conference today. For members of the media, we're asking everyone to mute themselves if they're not actively speaking, but myself and the other comms professionals will be monitoring the chat. If you have questions during the press conference, we will have a portion for questions and answers. And if you just use your raise your hand function, then Dom Miller, Councilman Thomas's chief of staff, will call on you and just introduce yourself with your name, outlet, and who you're directing the question to. And without further ado, I'm going to turn things over to Councilmember Gilmore Richardson to kick things off.
Excellent, excellent. Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much, Max. Thank you to all of our teammates, both my office and Councilmember Thomas's office, for all of your work today. But good afternoon. Thank you all so much for being here with us today. We are truly very excited about this announcement this afternoon. And first, I want to thank my co-chair and my partner in this effort, Councilmember Thomas, for his partnership and for his tremendous leadership. We have to pause and give Councilmember Thomas a hand clap. I'm truly very, very grateful to have the opportunity to work with you and your team to make this announcement a reality this afternoon. And thank you to all of you represented on the call, the roles that you play. We appreciate your insight and your feedback. And I'll go into that a little further down in my remarks, but we thank you all so much for being here. I want to repeat what Max stated. To all the media outlets who are able to join us, know that our communications team will be monitoring the chat throughout the press conference. And we ask that reporters please use the raise your hand tool to ask questions when we move to the Q&A portion of the program. So now, without further ado, we'll get our short program started. I know we all have seen recently how poetry and using our voices can be so powerful, Amanda Gorman. So I have the great honor of introducing you to the City of Philadelphia's Youth Poet Laureate, Sydney Brown. She is a lifelong resident of Northeast Philadelphia. She has a deep sense of pride in her city and love for her community. She is the author of 2 poems that I've had the pleasure of reading, named Round Trip and My Feed. So allow me to introduce to some and present to others the incomparable Sydney Brown. Sydney.
Thank you, City Council, for this opportunity, and thank you for naming me the Champion of the Week last Friday. I'm Sydney Brown, the Youth Poet Laureate of Philadelphia, and I will be reciting a poem I wrote entitled Illuminating the Arts. Living my life like it's golden, but somehow arts and culture is always stolen from the budget, like Jilly wasn't from Philly. It's silly to even think of this city without art. It's like a body without a heart. Music is paved in the streets and beats boom on the subway with head nods and feet moving every which way. We stay connected on South Street where savory scents stay a while, cheesesteaks make us smile, and evening events keep us entertained. So why does the one thing that unites us all fall short on the list of necessities? Not only does arts and culture elevate our economy, it illuminates our city. The Museum of Art is the heart of Philly. People around the world come to run up those steps, catch their breath, and pose with their hands in the air. This city's jobs are intertwined with the arts too. Visual artists with their glorious galleries. We are the city of celebrities, drag queens like William Belly on the big screen. Philly creations are made to be seen. Ballerinas making grand jetés look easy, the youth igniting change with their spoken word, the Met glowing and orchestras showing us true camaraderie. Murals up to 35 feet cultivating community, especially the Peace Wall on 29th Street. An investment in the arts is an investment in Philly. The city of brotherly love with sculptures of LOVE. Teddy Pendergrass reminds me that 80-20 love isn't where we need to be, but that 50-50 love is giving money to Philly artists to rebuild our community. By letting the arts inspire, celebrating our legends in the Mann Center when Boys to Men come back again. Honestly, the importance of the arts should never depend on the day. Because if the arts went away, there would be no trailblazers to plant seeds of opportunities. Sonia Sanchez paved the way for poets like me to say what they feel. Children need the resources to let their inner artistry shine. So you ask me why illuminating the arts is necessary. It's because the arts are the roots of this city. Thank you.
Bravo. Bravo.
So in the op-ed I wrote for the Inquirer, I focused on the role the arts have played in my life, especially poetry. I know that by using my voice, I can educate people and inspire other young girls to be confident in speaking their truth. Now I'll pass it on to Councilmember Gilmore Richardson.
No, thank you so much, Sydney. I'm just smiling from ear to ear after listening to that poem. And, you know, I just wrote down so many nuggets from your poem. That investment in the arts is an investment in Philadelphia. And, you know, I heard the part with Jilly from Philly because she's a girl's high girl like me. So I love that poem. You are phenomenal. We thank you so much for helping us to illuminate the arts here in our city of sisterly love. And we thank you for representing us as our youth poet laureate. So we will now move forward. Last summer, Councilmember Thomas and I launched the Disadvantaged Communities Task Force. And I want to again thank my colleague for his foresight and insight in establishing the Disadvantaged Communities Task Force. The goal of the task force was to create dedicated space for us to hear directly from communities about their challenges with the COVID-19 pandemic and identify opportunities for policy change or investment to ease those burdens. We held meetings via Zoom, partnering with our council colleagues to hear directly from constituents in their districts and in different sectors, and from important groups like healthcare workers, youth and young people, small business owners, seniors, clergy, and most importantly, and why we're here today, arts and culture. These meetings allowed us to better understand the challenges our communities are facing, from food access to transportation to out of school time activities and the like. But being able to hear directly from those most in need allowed us to respond and create programs and identify opportunities for improvement. So one of the new initiatives that was started from the Disadvantaged Communities Task Force, and when I tell you, we virtually visited across the city of Philadelphia. We were in every neighborhood virtually, but one of the new initiatives from the DCT was the Arts and Culture Task Force. In the fall, Councilmember Thomas's office held meetings with the arts and culture community, and they shared directly with us the challenges that they were facing around getting work, qualifying for grants and loans and some of the other programs that were made available early on during the pandemic, and their frustration when they saw budget cuts for the arts. And I will tell you, and I know I could speak for my colleague and I, that we both felt that frustration in the last budget cycle. So this robust conversation created space for new voices and allowed us to really see how the creative economy has struggled during COVID-19 here in the city of Philadelphia. So it became clear throughout the call that a more permanent space for artists to offer direct feedback and communicate their priorities was necessary. And I remember specifically the call with the arts and culture community. We had so many individuals on that call, and I think we could have gone on for probably 5 or 6 hours, but we had gone on to talk about the issues that was impacting the arts and culture community. So from that work, the Arts and Culture Task Force was created, and that has allowed us to hear regularly from the community about the ongoing needs in the arts and culture sector. So we are so grateful to our council president, Darrell Clark, who not only gave us his full support for the Disadvantaged Communities Task Force and for the Arts and Culture Task Force, but responded quickly when we brought some of these challenges to light. And through the New Normal Budget Act, which has allocated $25 million, Council President Clark has made it possible for us to be flexible and responsive to communities by providing funding directly for initiatives that will help those who have struggled throughout the pandemic. These funds have been used to strategically invest in programs that will make a real difference in people's lives. And let me repeat that. These programs will make a real difference in people's lives. And today we are very excited to announce funding that will directly support our arts and culture community. So I want to pass it over now to my colleague, my co-chair, my fellow millennial on City Council. I want to pass it over to Councilmember Isaiah Thomas, who will share more about this effort to invest in the arts. Colleague.
Thank you, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson. It's been an honor and a privilege to serve with you as the chair of the Disadvantaged Communities Task Force. I also want to say thank you to all of the members of the Arts and Culture Task Force. The members of the task force are all volunteers. They spend, I guess at this point, hundreds of hours, not just listening to constituents, but meeting with elected officials, as well as brainstorming what steps we need to be taken and communicating those things to us. And it is in the reflection of their work and is with their support that, as well as our other colleagues on council. My colleague mentioned our council president. We definitely appreciate Council President Clark, as well as the rest of the leadership team. But it's with great honor that we announced today that we plan to introduce legislation this Thursday in City Council to have a transfer ordinance that will make $1 million available for artists in the city of Philadelphia to be able to apply for grants for those who the arts and culture community have communicated have been left out, have not received the support that they've needed in the past. And for us, this is what we're calling our way of trying to provide some stimulus dollars to be able to support and help the arts and culture community. Like Sydney said, without arts, there is no Philadelphia. As we think about what Philadelphia looks like as it relates to how we respond to this coronavirus crisis, and not just the hardship that is created for the lives lost and for the pain and the trauma, but also the economic crisis is created. There is no bounce back in the city of Philadelphia as it relates to our economic status without the arts and culture community bouncing back. And so when Sydney talked about the importance of this space and it being the heartbeat of our city, city was 100% on point. And as it relates to our role as legislative leaders, it's imperative that we invest in this space, because when we invest in the arts and culture community, the arts and culture community essentially invest in us. So it's an honor to announce this initiative today. My colleague and I plan to introduce the legislation this Thursday. And our overall goal, again, is to make dollars available to grassroots organizations, both for-profit and nonprofit, as well as individual artists in the city of Philadelphia who've been hit the hardest throughout this unfortunate pandemic and throughout this coronavirus crisis. We also look forward to this being a new day in the city of Philadelphia as it relates to arts and culture. We're starting with this stimulus dollars, but we're going to continue to fight for even more money as it relates to the budget. These Illuminate the Arts Grants is just, again, the first step. There will be legislation coming from myself as well as my colleague, and we will be partnering with our state partners to put us in a position where we can do as much as we can to support the arts and culture community in the city of Philadelphia. So again, I'm excited to announce the Illuminate the Arts Grants today. But again, this is just one of what we're hoping will be a series of steps to let folks know that it's a new day in the city of Philadelphia as it relates to how we invest in the arts and culture community. With that being said, I would like to take a moment to introduce the chair of the Arts and Culture Task Force. This is someone who immediately caught my attention based on her advocacy for the arts and culture community. Her advocacy, not just in council hearings and through DCT task force, but also on social media and in grassroots spaces all across the city of Philadelphia. So it was an honor to have her serve as the chair of the Arts and Culture Task Force. I'm pretty sure the members of the Arts and Culture Task Force would agree with me when I say, she's been working like crazy. You would think that this is her full-time job, the way she's been working and leading this task force. And she's done a great job of not just listening to the concerns of the task force, but to the concerns of the entire community, and consistently meeting with different stakeholders to advocate for those who do not have the voice and the platform to advocate for themselves. So it's an honor to introduce Sierra Lambert, who is one of the chairs of the Arts and Culture Task Force, who is going to speak briefly about the Illuminate the Arts Grant, as well as the work of the Arts and Culture Task Force. Hey, C. You're on mute.
Got it. Thank you. First of all, I want to thank both Councilman Thomas and Councilwoman Gilmore Richardson for taking the initiative and just believing in this group and supporting the arts and culture community. Oftentimes people look at arts and cultures as if it's an extracurricular activity, and it can be, but a lot of times it's how people live and survive. Especially when we talk about supplemental income and people trying to feed families off of minimum wage jobs. This particular initiative is important because oftentimes the grants that were already in place, a lot of artists don't meet that criteria in order to receive the money to recover from COVID, including things like PPP loans. It's also important that we expand the definition of an artist, like Sydney had referenced earlier. An artist isn't just a painter or a musician. An artist can be a drag artist. It can be a rapper. It can be a culture creator. These are all people who are struggling during this time. I want to take this time to recognize the other members of the task force who are on this call today, because with them being a diverse task force, it allowed us to identify key issues that covers a lot of the different sectors. So I could name them all, but I don't know if I have enough time to do that, considering that this is a shorter segment. But thank you guys. I couldn't have done it without you. The goal of the task force is to present a proposal that represents the working goals of the community around equity, support, and respect. The sector has been struggling way before COVID, so we want to go beyond recovery and think about sustainability. So we don't want to just survive, we want to thrive, thus illuminate the arts. It's really important to provide a lifeline to artists and small organizations because we can't afford for them to fail, whether it's from an economic standpoint, where we're talking about tourism dollars, or we're talking about a personal standpoint, where it's just bringing people together. It's really crucial that we support this sector because that's how we're going to move forward. So without further ado, I guess now is the time that we open up for questions. If you want to ask a question, use the raise your hand feature, and also identify who you're with, like what station you represent, and please tell us the person you're directing your question towards so we can best move along.
So while we're waiting for questions, what I will say is the Arts and Culture Task Force has really been very diligent as it relates to advocating for communities who essentially haven't had traditional support in the past. And so we are excited for this announcement today, which comes ahead of the actual report that Sierra spoke about that will come from the Arts and Culture Task Force, specifically looking at the steps that we had to take in order to put us in a position to make these dollars available immediately for the constituents in need. I know that there's a question in the chat, so I'll stop right there so we can get to that question.
Yeah, Peter, Peter, to respond to your question, the grant dollars are coming from the new normal budget in City Council that was allocated earlier last year. So the dollars will come from there.
Thank you for the question. And again, if other members of the press have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. But again, this specific grant is a direct response to the work that the Arts and Culture Task Force have done, and again, is done ahead of their actual report because because of the position that we're in on the legislative side, and because of the need as it relates to get these dollars available to people. So we do anticipate the report coming from the Arts and Culture Task Force that will talk about the fiscal sustainability of the community. But again, as it relates to helping people right away, I think our goal was really to try to expedite this process. And I think the members of the task force agreed that the sooner we can make these dollars available, the better, despite the report not being there yet. So this work will be included in the report. And we do, again, anticipate a number of different steps that we will take in order to put us in a position to get the arts and culture community to truly believe that it's a new day in the city of Philadelphia as it relates to arts and culture. I know that there's another question in the chat. If somebody wants to go ahead and communicate that question.
Laura, if you wanted to ask your question.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Thank you. Laura Smythe from the Philadelphia Business Journal. I'm just wondering, is the Arts and Culture Task Force, is it still having meetings going forward at this point? And also, when is it anticipated that that final report will be all set?
I can answer that. So right now, the Arts and Culture Task Force is still having meetings. We'll be having meetings at least for another 3 weeks. The proposal is expected to be presented on March 15th.
Got it. Thank you so much.
While we're waiting for other questions that might present themselves, see if you could, Sierra, if you don't mind, can you just take maybe 30 seconds to talk about some of the different committees that the Arts and Culture Task Force has as it relates to the work that you're doing? I know that there are 4 different committees. I think that'll be good information to make the public aware of.
Sure. So right now, the Arts and Culture Task Force is focused on 4 different initiatives. The initiatives are 1, permanence or a plan for permanence. We know that, you know, it's been said that we've zeroed out the arts, and, you know, a lot of times they say that if the mayor cares about the arts, then the city and the budget cares about the arts. But a lot of times, if that doesn't happen, it doesn't reflect that way. So we're looking for a permanent plan for permanence. The second committee, or the second initiative, is a plan for individuals and small organizations. I know a lot of times people expect for when larger organizations to get funding, it to trickle down effectively, but sometimes that doesn't happen in the way that we would like to see it happen. So focusing on or having a plan for individuals and small organizations should also help the sector. The third initiative is a plan for the youth in the arts. A lot of times the youth who are artists feel like they don't have spaces to do their own programming. We know what's going on as far as right now, you know, it's COVID. So a lot of times the youth who were involved in programming is finding it hard to try to do some of those things via Zoom and all the other technology issues that may be associated with that. And then our fourth initiative is a plan for nightlife governance. And a lot of other cities have a plan for nightlife governance, which covers, you know, a sector of the arts that I feel like embodies both hospitality, tourism, et cetera. And when you have a plan for nightlife governance, it just allows for those things to happen more smoothly. And it also allows for the community to be involved with some of the decision making. So here's that.
Thank you, Sierra, I appreciate it. Just to answer the next question in the chat as it relates to OACCE, we do intend to partner with OACCE once legislation is introduced and passed, so that the money can go through OACCE as well as the grant recipients. One of the reasons that we're excited to partner with OACCE for the Illuminate the Arts Grants is because the task force actually had an opportunity to meet with OACCE and to talk about the different needs as it relates to the arts and culture community. And OACCE agreed to partner with the task force so that almost half, maybe about 40% of the task force will actually serve on the committee with OACCE to help select the grant recipients so we can assure that we're doing this through a lens of equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so we are excited at the possibility of partnering with OACCE for this particular initiative. And we're even more excited about this innovative selection process that will come as a collaborative effort between the City of Philadelphia and the Arts and Culture Task Force. So I'm not sure if there are any other questions. We just want to make sure that we're being as transparent as possible as it relates to what's going on. We're really excited about this initiative. We're hoping that we can really impact our city as it relates to the arts and culture community. And I think, again, the most important thing that we want the arts and culture community to recognize is that we want to establish a credible relationship with the community. And we want not just the citizens of Philadelphia, but we want to put the country on notice that Philadelphia is open for business. We are want to attract a lot of people as it relates to things that we want to do that's going to be focused on the arts and culture world. And we want to do it again through a lens of equity and through a lens of inclusion that is much more inclusive than what we've been in the past. So I'll stop if there aren't any more questions. I don't know, Councilmember Gilmore Richardson, if you want to add anything before we close out today. It seems like there aren't too many more questions.
Sure. No, I just wanted to thank you again and to the task force and for everyone here for all of their work. We are looking forward to introducing this legislation at Thursday's council session, and we look forward to the work that will be done to continue to support the arts and culture community here in the city of Philadelphia. And I just wanted to thank Sydney again because she was just phenomenal, and I look forward to your bright future here in our city. So thank you all so very, very much.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.